What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Benfica podcast. Alfredo and Cristiano Oliveira every week, bringing you the latest on Benfica game wrap ups and all that good stuff. On tonight's podcast, we will look back at the Porto game. We'll also look back at yesterday's Zenit game. We will look ahead to Passos Ferreira. Cristiano, what's going on, my brother?
Como é que é, pá? Tudo bem? Hey, first off, I want to start off with the apology that it's my fault. A little late. I was a little busy doing a couple of things, and so I just want to apologize to everyone that's been sitting at home patiently. And thank you for sitting home patiently. Appreciate your support.
Well, it gives time to everybody to put their kids to sleep and do some chores around the house. But it is it's good for the West Coast people. They live in large right now. They're sitting, warming up their TV dinners, sitting in front of the TV, watching us. It's nice.
For Steve. Steve, right now, his kid's sleeping. He's got all the time to sit there and listen to us right now and critique us tomorrow.
Steve, man. Ele nem sabe quantas anda, man.
Man, Steve é uma máquina, man. Steve esta hora tá lá. He's got a notepad taking notes right now, making sure that we cover all the points.
He wants to make sure that we explain to him the Zenit game. And I said, why don't you come on and explain it yourself? Why do we have to explain it? The guy that explains it is you.
Yeah, well, guys, he does a great job explaining, man. Severely missed on the pod for those occasions. But, Steve, go on UEFA.com or something, pay or something. You can watch the game. You can watch the replay. Or steal it off the internet somewhere.
Steve, I got a 3 gigabyte recording of the game if you want. It's nice, 720 quality if you want.
Máquina.
I'll drive it for you. All right, let's get right into this Porto game. Benfica played Porto on Friday. A big test for us, Cristiano, that finally you had been saying all this time that we hadn't played anybody strong during our 13-game winning streak.
And we had it.
You're right. You finally played Porto. I'll give you the lineup. Very familiar lineup. Júlio César, Almeida, Lindelof, Jardel, and Eliseu across the back. Samaris and Renato in the middle. Pizzi, Gaitan on the wings, and Jonas behind Mitroglou. So nothing here. With the lineup, if it's working, I guess a lot of people are of the opinion if it's working, don't mess with it.
Yeah, and the only 2 changes that they've made, he was forced to make, which was the Lindelof and for Lisandro, who's been hurt, who was in already for Luizão, and then obviously Samaris came into the lineup for injured Feja. Yeah. But even with that option, we're not even sure who's 1 and 1. 1A, 1B. We don't even know who's the top choice for that.
Yeah, but I think right now, if Luizão is healthy, he starts. And
100%.
I think that Face is healthy, he starts. I think Lisandro is healthy, he starts.
Mm-hmm.
So, it is kind of a little bit of a decimated lineup by injuries, but 2 guys out of 11, that's not bad.
No, not at all. Not at all. And, Benfica surely had their chances. They missed plenty of opportunities, man. I know you want to go ahead, man.
Let's. Just looking at the game in general, I thought that Benfica had a pretty good first half, and the one thing that Benfica has been good throughout this whole streak of 13 games is effectiveness. We don't create as many chances, but we sure do put a lot of goals away. And this was almost total opposite, where we don't really put any goals away, and Porto takes advantage of the chances. They kind of gave us a taste of our own medicine. There was a lot of people already, us included, thought that this was going to be a game that Benfica could easily win, and I think that Porto played with a chip on their shoulder.
Porto, like we touched last week, they knew if they lost this game, they could pretty much pack it up and call it a season, come back next season, because there's no way they're going to make up 9 points. So their life was on the line, and it was a tremendous game on their part, I believe. This is a team that was a wounded, animal coming into Estádio da Luz, a team that we all predicted that Benfica was finally going to, beat Porto Estádio da Luz in a dominating fashion based on their form, based on the way they've been playing over the last couple of weeks. And Porto came in and they did exactly what they're accustomed to doing at Estádio da Luz, and they played their game. Benfica, obviously they created their chances. It came down to, like you've mentioned earlier, not capitalizing. It wasn't the worst game for Benfica, and we'll get into the second half as well. But in the first half, it came down to a Pizzi chance, which, Pizzi, again, in a big game, it's not as easy as it is against the Rivals, is it? Didn't come through. Mitroglou, beautiful assist from Renato. I mean, that was absolutely gorgeous. And I tell you, when Mitroglou hit it with his off foot, I was a little bit worried, man, because he kind of shanked it. I was like, Jesus. But, luckily went in. And then in the 38th minute or so, he had that one chance off of a Jonas pass that, I mean, there's no way in hell he should have missed that. Yeah. But, those were obviously the big opportunities in the first half. And then, we'll get into the second half. But then Saint Iker showed up.
Yeah, Iker Casillas was on in goal, and he proved why he was at one point considered one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I don't know if he's still. What do you think, Cristiano? Perhaps in the top 5?
Nah, o gajo hoje em dia, he's still a very good goalkeeper, but he's prone to giving up that frango once in a while. But I tell you, he showed up on Friday to play. This is a stadium style to lose, like he said. He's had nothing but good memories. Obviously, winning the Decima, 10th Champions League with Real Madrid at Stadio de Luz 2 seasons ago. So, he had one of those turn back the clock moments, man. The guy was just absolutely lights out. I mean, I really do think he was the difference between the 3 points going to Porto rather than staying in Lisbon.
He even saved his own player's shots.
That was a great. I'm telling you, to me, that was probably the best save of the night. I mean, the reflex at that age, you think the guys have lost a little bit, but the dude, the reflex
that it took. Stretch.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a spectacular save, and it would have been a beautiful goal by Martin Zindi, whatever his name. It would have been, upper 90. But Iker came to play. Spectacular game. I know most of you were expecting me to come on here and rip on Rui Vitoria, and again, I'll say it. Let's forget about the game on Tuesday. We're still stuck on Friday, okay? Yeah. And who's Rui Vitoria beating? You know what I'm saying? It's just so many questions. And again, Benfica did not play the worst game. One of their worst games of the season. They played pretty well. They created chances. I thought they were, spectacular on the counterattack. But like you said it right at the beginning of the pot here. The difference between the Friday's game against Football Club do Porto and the prior 13 games was that Benfica did not capitalize at the same level that they had in previous games.
Yeah, absolutely. And one could argue, obviously, with the change in opposition or the level of opposition, the difference in opposition, you can argue that point. But Cristiano, I got to tell you, that goal by Mitroglou and the way we were playing the first 15, 20 minutes of the game, I thought that we were just going to put Porto away quick. But as it turns out, we give way too much space to Herrera, and Herrera kind of puts it away on a wet grass that got past Julio César.
Man, when that goal first went in, man, I'm sitting there watching this, and I love JC, but I started questioning if he could have done better. I mean, it was outside the box, a low shot, placed perfectly in the corner. Like you've mentioned, we gave him way too much space. Pizzi gave him way too much space. Sometimes we have to tip our cap to the opposition, and that's exactly what we have to do here with Herrera. It was a perfect shot. But initially, I was questioning whether JC could have gone there. After watching a couple more replays, it was a perfectly placed shot. It just sucks, man. Yeah. That was devastating to me when that happened, because I thought that Benfica was only going to start adding to the lead. They were playing pretty well, and unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Yeah, and you got to think that Porto goes into the locker room and they're pretty confident, because they could have, Benfica was playing well. They were creating chances, and they could have gone well into the locker room with 2-1, really. And then would have had an uphill battle in the second half with the crowd behind Benfica. Instead, they came out for the second half. They controlled. Peseiro made a couple changes to their midfield, and they kind of took advantage of us being outnumbered in the midfield by whether it was Brahimi drifting into the middle, whether it was Andre drifting to the middle. They were finding people to outnumber our guys in midfield.
They did, and again, I'll reiterate. The first half, I wasn't that upset the way that Benfica played. Again, I thought they gave a little bit too much space to Herrera, but no complaints here. Second half, that's where I had a little bit more problem with Rui Vitoria, was the fact that we give up possession way too easily. And I've seen this in every big game we've played so far. We did it against Sporting, and now against Porto. It was only once Porto scored that Porto kind of sat back, and all of a sudden Benfica, the last 10 minutes or whatever it was, Benfica kind of had a couple more chances, created a lot more chances. Everything Benfica created in the second half was practically on a counter. Yeah. That's all they did. They caught Porto on a counter. And it's like, you're playing at home. Porto should be the ones playing on a counter, not Benfica.
Yeah, but Porto was kind of playing on the counter because they were all behind the ball. They were waiting for Benfica to open up and to spring. That's why you kind of see Varela going in there. You see Marega, guys that are have
Guys with
speed.
speed, absolutely. Guys with speed that can hit
Right.
him on the counter. But I don't think that was Porto's game plan. I think that as the game was winding down, the last 15, 20 minutes, I think Pizarro switched to that. He put guys on the field with speed that if they have to play defensive and hold the score and hold the result, the 1-1 draw, to them would have been fine. Going on a road, starting to lose 1-1 for them, you know what? When everything around them was caving in, a 1-1 result for them wouldn't have been the worst result. So he puts in guys with speed that in case they do get that counter, that they could capitalize on it. But I don't think that that's the way they play, at least not the first 25, 30 minutes of the second half. Porto did not play like that. I thought Porto had the better possession. And again, Benfica might have had more attacks. Benfica created a lot of chances again. And it was the difference, again, I'll keep saying it over and over again. The difference was we did not capitalize at the same rate we've done in other games. But that had a lot to do with two reasons. One, Casillas, like we've mentioned, played out of this world. Okay. And two, let's be honest, Gaitan and Pizzi were nowhere to be seen. And when Gaitan's not the same player with that magic that we're accustomed to seeing, Benfica's a different team. Jonas played a little bit better. Again, still hadn't scored in a big game, like I said last week's pod. Played a little bit better, but when no Gaitan, there's no party. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that was the difference here for Benfica in the second half.
Yeah, there seemed to be a concerted effort by Porto to kind of isolate those guys to close off the passing lanes to them, so they wouldn't be able to do anything with space. And I think that was something. But really, I think that the team didn't play that bad. I do think that if the result had been a win, I think it would have been fair. If the result had been a tie, it would have been fair. But I think that the 2-1 result for Porto is kind of cynical. So,
listen, it's not like Benfica definitely had the better scoring chances. I don't think anyone could dispute that. Difference is that the few that they had, they put them away. That was the difference.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But I wanted to talk real quick about Rui Vitoria, and we've praised him here for having the right reads on games at halftime, sometimes bringing two guys in at a time. I got to be honest, I didn't really get the three subs that he did. First of all, they were of no consequence. They didn't add anything to the game. The Talisca thing, I'm not sure I get the Talisca. Carcela, perhaps Pizzi, because Pizzi wasn't having a good game. Throw Carcela in there. Maybe Carcela could spark something up. Salvio, after I don't know how many months injured, you bring him on in a game like this of this level. Why can't you bring him on against União de Madeira or maybe next game against Paços Ferreira? Give him 15 minutes to get his legs back. Against Porto, I thought that was a totally wasted sub.
See, the Talisca sub, I thought Benfica needed to get numbers in the midfield, so I understand sort of why he did that, because Talisca is a guy that could control the ball and he can spread the ball around. And one thing is, when he gets he gets any type of open window, he's going to shoot on net, and he's got a pretty nice shot. So I think he was trying to strike gold with that substitution. Carcela, I agree. I mean, Pizzi wasn't doing crap. Bring this guy in, see if he sparks something. But again, Carcela is a guy that he is exactly what we thought he was. He's a decent player who's got a beautiful touch. If you've never seen this guy play and you see him warm up, you're like, wow, this guy's got some zing in him. But the guy plays with no emotion, with nothing. He just comes on. He's out there. To me, at times, he's just going through the motion of, all right, I'm playing. It is what it is. When's the game over? So I can go eat, go hang out, do what I got to do. Now, the Salvio sub, that I did not understand. I mean, this is a guy that, okay, he might finally be back to 100% fit, but you can't tell me he's in game rhythm. You can't tell me he's in game shape. You can't tell me that you're needing a goal. And you're not going to bring in Jimenez. At least Jimenez, if anything else, he'll pressure Porto 24/7, 100%. I didn't understand that sub. I mean, it was nice. Don't get me wrong. It was nice to see Salvio finally back on the field. It was a nice moment.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is the right situation for it.
Yeah, I completely agree, like I've said. Let's talk about Jonas. Now, almost in a season and a half at Benfica, and he's yet to score against Sporting or Porto in his career at Benfica. What do you make of that? I mean, you did say in the preview, you did say, let's see if Jonas shows up because he has a tendency to not be a big game player.
See, my thing with Jonas is obviously you want you want your top players to score in big moments. And my thing with Jonas is it's not that he didn't score. Okay, it's not that he hasn't scored against Porto. If he doesn't score, but he plays well, I'm okay with it. But we've seen a lot of instances against our two big rivals where he's nowhere to be found. And again, okay, that's more emphasis on the opposition. There's more emphasis on man marking. Obviously, you're playing a lot better players than you are against the Stubos and the Rio Aves and the Pasto Ferreira. Porto and Sporting have way better players than those guys. You understand that, but I just want to see the guy play well. And a lot of times from those moments, he goes missing in these big games. And to me, that was the biggest problem. If he doesn't score, that's fine. He needs to be involved. He needs to have the ball at his feet, create, draw defenders in on him, play the 1-2 quick with Gaitan. And for the most part, he hasn't done that.
Yeah. Do you think that perhaps the fact that Jonas had an off game influenced Pizzi and Gaitan?
I mean, it didn't help. I'll say that much. It didn't help. But still, Pizzi, a lot of, bad passes, a lot of just dumb decisions. The guy gets into the final third, and then it's like all of a sudden, he draws a blank and he forgets what to do. I don't think that has anything to do with Jonas. I just think that's decision-making skills. That's on his part.
Yeah. Yeah, but those three guys do mix and match pretty well between those three. That make good combinations. But it just seems that this game they were off.
And let's be honest, Gaitan, ever since he's come back from his, what did he miss, like a game or two a couple weeks ago? Whatever it was, a month ago. Ever since he's come back, he hasn't been the same player before he got hurt. Before he got hurt, the guy was hitting on all cylinders. I know he scored a beautiful goal against Murirense where he practically juked everyone in the box and went around the goalie and, scored. But he has not been the same player that he was before he got injured.
Yeah, there might be a reason because maybe he's not 100%. Maybe he's still suffering. Maybe he still has some pain.
This goes back to the same conversation we had about Jonas. I don't recall if it was at the beginning of last season or the end of last season or beginning of this season beginning. When we questioned whether, Jonas was being limited due to injuries. And we talked about it all the time. If he's not 100%, I'd rather not have him out there. I'd rather have him sit out, get back to being 100% fit. Therefore, we could get the best out of them. I don't want these guys limited on the field, not doing what we're accustomed to doing, because like you've mentioned, their play might affect the guys on the field.
Yeah. All right. So jumping from Jonas to Rui Vitoria. Rui Vitoria is also yet to win a game against one of the big rivals. And I think there's a stat out there. There's been championships where Benfica has lost all four Classicos, if you want to call derbies Classicos also, and has gone on to win the championship.
Is that a stat? I thought that never happened. I thought the stat was that it's never happened where Benfica has lost all four games against these guys and went on to win the title. I thought that was the stat. I mean,
I believe that's happened before from what I read and what I heard. But we could check.
Hit us up on Twitter. Hashtag Benfica Podcast. Hit us up on Twitter. And vamos tirar aqui o tira temas, see who's right. But I could have sworn the stat was the other way around, that Benfica have never won a title in which they haven't beaten at least one. They haven't won at least one of those four rivalry games.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody's run into that. But let me talk about the Rui Vitoria. Do you think that Rui Vitoria's inexperience of coaching a big team as kind of let him down this path where he hasn't been able to win a game? I know that the thing with the Sporting, it is what it is. He's been outcoached by JJ every single time. When we played at Dragão, he played pretty well, but we end up losing. But this game, I think this game was a game that perhaps was out our reach. I know that he doesn't play on the field. I know the players play on the field, but still, I mean, there was something missing there from Rui Vitoria. I don't think that he maybe read and he made the changes that he really needed to make.
Listen, I'll say this much. Out of the 5 games that he's coached for Benfica against, obviously the 3 against Sporting and now the 2 against Porto, which were all defeats, okay? This was the game, at least, that it gave me the most confidence about him, because I saw the team build and I saw the team play some creative soccer. And again, they created plenty of chances, even though most of it in the second half was on a counter, but they still created chances. And I don't think he looked out-coached like we've seen him being out-coached against, o nosso velho treinador. So it gave me a little bit of confidence that it seems like he's starting to get starting to get an idea here, but it still leads me, to ask a lot of questions. I mean, it's a lot easier to beat these smaller teams when your coaching doesn't even come into play because your athletes, your horses, is so much better than everyone else's horses that it really doesn't take that much tactical genius on your part to create anything great at times. And it's only these big games where you're really going to test my horses against your horses, and it's based on my. I mean, not based on it because obviously, like you mentioned, he doesn't play, but my decision making is going to influence the results somehow. And I haven't seen that from him in the past.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought that he lacked a little bit on the reads that he had with the game. And like we've mentioned, the Salvio substitution, I can't understand that at all. I mean, the other ones, I understand the logic. I understand the Talisca logic. I understand the Carcelas. I've explained it also. But the Salvio sub, I think that he burned out.
Let me ask you something regarding Salvio. You think this, I mean, stupid to ask this because we haven't asked this of many other players, but you think maybe the order came from upstairs? The guy's healthy, you play him? I mean, because it makes no sense as to why you would play him.
I don't think he.
So you think he just panicked? He panicked and he turned around and it's Salvio. Let's see if you could create on your own. Let's see if you could, create a moment of magic here and save my butt, because that's the only explanation I could come up with.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I just think that the rhythm of the game and the pressure of the game wasn't the right game to bring. I understand, and I think a lot has to do with the psychological aspects of the game, motivation, looking for that wild card, if you may, with Salvio. I just thought that it was the wrong decision for this game. I just thought, I mean, and then again, if he was so good, if he's ready to go, why wasn't he on the bench against Zenit?
Yeah, I mean listen, that's a great question. That's a great question. I mean, leads you to believe that it's not 100% yet. So why even have him on the bench against Porto? Because if he was 100%, he'd be ready, to go on Tuesday, like you mentioned.
Like look, I understand bringing him to the locker room. Have the guy. The guy is a spirited player. He's. I mean, from what I've seen, he's a great Benfica. He loves the team. He loves Lisbon. His family's big Benfica supporters. And I understand that the guy feels Benfica like not that many players in the locker room. So maybe that was the decision of Rui Vitoria to bring him to the locker room to have a little bit of more spirit in there. But I just don't understand him putting him in the game.
But in a game like this is no time for games and motivationals and uplift, people's spirits. This is a game that you need results. In particular, this game on Friday, you needed a result here against Porto. You win this game on Friday, peace, sayonara, Porto, by South Perdón, and that's it. End of story. Now you left the door open. Now you got another horse in contention. To me, it just made no sense, man. You can't be playing these games of trying to uplift guys. Just select your best 18 and go with the guys that are ready right now to give you the best possible result. And by bringing Salvio in, that to me made absolutely no sense.
Yeah. Well, Rui Vitoria's got one more chance to make it right, and I think that if he beats Sporting in Alvalade in about 3-4 weeks time. Do you think that will erase all the losses he's had against Sporting and Porto this season?
Yeah, because we're all, I mean, myself included, we're all like, what have you done for me lately type of people. So we kind of forget about the past. But do you really have confidence? I mean, Benfica played Sporting. The last time Benfica played Sporting, don't forget, they were manhandled. Benfica didn't have a shot on goal. They didn't have a goal-scoring opportunity. Now, all of a sudden, it's going to have this magical turnaround. I know Sporting isn't playing at the same level they were. Benfica, as we've spoken of their form, at least in the Liga NOS, they won 13 in a row. So obviously their form is spiked. But, I mean, anything that really gives you confidence? I mean, as far as coaching, to me, there's no debate.
Yeah. No, we all know who the better coach, who has the titles and who doesn't there. So, I mean, that's not even up for argument, I guess, as you've said. Chris, anything else on this Porto game before we move on?
Yeah, it was great, man. It was great to see Estádio da Luz alive. It was a little bit upsetting at the same time, and it was cool for me, I like that type of atmosphere. At the same time, it was a little bit upsetting every time, especially in the second half, down the right wing.
They were very quiet.
Forget the quiet. They threw everything they could find at Moxie. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's cool. I love the whistling. I love the booing every single time he touched the ball. It reminded me of the old school, games that started to lose back in the 90s, man, when everybody would go absolutely nuts. And I just loved it. But I think we need to control ourselves a little bit better. We're a little bit better than that. We like to criticize other fans for being dumb and throwing stuff on the field. And now we did just like everyone else. So I wish we wouldn't have done that. Everything else around, I just loved it, man. Started to Lose was alive, and I love the chants. And man, that's what a big game feels like, man. That's what Benfica, the atmosphere of it Started to Lose. Most days is like that, but you could tell it was up a little bit more on Friday.
Yeah, 61,536 people on hand. One of them or two of them being there was a bunch of people that we know at the game. Timo was at the game. João Gomes was at the game. I believe Laura was at the game. There's another follower of us, a Greek that I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he was at the game also. So a lot of people at that game. It was too bad that they couldn't get the win for them. But anyway,
real quick, just want to point something out regarding what we were talking about earlier about Benfica not winning any of these rivalry games against Sporting and Porto. And Mike Da Costa hit us up on Twitter. Thank you. And he hit us up like we asked him. And he says, a última vez que o Benfica não conquistou qualquer vitória nos clássicos que disputou, os encarnados foram tricampeões, 68, 69 com Otto Glória. I guess. I mean,
I had read that.
I heard the other way around. Believe it or not, I heard the other way around. But
yeah, thanks for retweeting that, Mike.
We got the greatest followers, man. We got the greatest followers.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna take a short break here for Nelson's halftime headlines, and we'll be right back with the second half of the Benfica podcast. All right, we're back for the second half. Cristiano Oliveira and Alfredo here with you. Bringing you Benfica Talk weekly on this Benfica podcast on YouTube and also on iTunes. If you guys are listening on to us via iTunes, please don't forget to rate us and work for that algorithm so we get some fans and stuff like that.
Rated R.
So turning our attention now to the Zenit game, which is this Tuesday, and the lineup. No changes in the lineup. Like I said, Rui Vitoria was confident enough with the lineup that played against Porto that he feels that is his best lineup. So that's how they lined up against Zenit. Zenit really coming off a month and a half without playing.
Yeah, a month or two.
A competitive game. Last competitive game that they played was against Ghent and match day 6 of the Champions League. So it's been quite some time. And I think, Chris, that their whole approach to this game was they really didn't want to lose the game and at worst maybe tie and bring it to Russia where they play 3 weeks down the road where perhaps they'll be in a better shape to play then.
And they'd also be playing in what I suppose will be negative weather, which they're a lot more accustomed to than what Benfica players will be, which is huge.
Well, March should be a little better. Well, March should be a little better.
It's still going to be a lot colder than it is in Portugal at this time, I should say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But, what I saw I didn't really see much from this Zenit team. They were organized pretty well in the back, just trying to limit the spaces that Benfica had. Giving Benfica the ball, I think the possession at the end of the game, 61% for Benfica, 39% for Zenit. So Zenit was content just giving Benfica the ball and giving Benfica spaces. They were, like I said, well organized in the back, closing passing lanes, closing the open spaces where Benfica players could penetrate it. And I thought that Benfica was really true to themselves as far as the style that they have progressed into up until this time of the season.
And Jonas, my boy, finally stepped up and showed up in a big game.
There you go.
Gaitan and Pizzi once again missing in action. Pizzi was lost. And I got to tip my cap, man. I got to say my boy Paramount had a tremendous game.
Yeah.
Even against Porto, he played well against Porto. I haven't heard nobody calling him out lately. So, Paramount, my man, keep doing your thing.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. You're talking about guys that people criticize or a little bit hesitant about. Lindelof.
Mhm.
A kid that made his a debut in a Classico. Now he's made a debut in the Champions League, and I gotta say he's doing well. I think that there was a huge discussion up to the time that Lisandro got hurt, and Lindelof was the only choice for center back. People were a little bit hesitant from the performances he's had for the Taça de Liga games. He hadn't been that he wasn't inspiring any confidence to anyone. But I got to say, I mean, my opinion was that Rui Vitoria was working with the kid in the training ground. And ever since Luizão got hurt, I'm sure he was working out Lindelof in the center of defense because that's the only backup he's had. And now you see, and I hope that I don't jinx the kid now. Now you see the kid building up rhythm, getting playing time, playing week in, week out, playing in a starting 11 and training, developing the routines, getting to know guys, getting to know how Almeida moves up the field and how he defends, how he closes off, getting to know how Jardel moves in the center of defense. That's huge for the kid, and I think that has a lot to do with what he's done so far.
And you could tell he's getting a lot of confidence from game to game over the last week and a half or so. He's got a lot more confident, and you could tell he's gotten a lot more comfortable. But like you've mentioned, a lot of us had our reservations regarding this kid, and I think rightfully so. I mean, we had not seen him play pretty much for the first half of the season. I mean, we barely even seen him. Every chance Benfica had to get this kid in there, he never got a play. I mean, they brought in like we've talked about, and I keep going back to this. They brought in a striker from the B team to start at right back when we're talking about this kid started and played the Euros with Sweden as a right back. I mean, so if I don't see this kid every day because I don't have the privilege of being at every practice, how am I supposed to have confidence when I see things like that? So I think not just myself and others that question it, but I thought we were right in questioning because it didn't seem like the team had any confidence in him until now that they had no other choice but to throw him in there, throw him into the fire. And to his credit, he's played well. He looked shaky in the one Taça the Cerveja game. He looked shaky, but maybe that had to do with nerves. That had to do with the fact it was his first start for Benfica. And you could tell over the last couple of games, he's gotten a lot better. But again, I don't know. He's all right. He played well. He impressed me because it was a big moment for him, and he didn't, just fall like a cheap chair. I thought he did well, but it wasn't like they had that box-to-box striker that was trying to get at him and killing him in a box. But he did defend well, and he held up his own. So, credit to him. I thought he played spectacularly yesterday. And again, my boy Pop Seku kept shutting down Hulk, the Hulk master. Loved it. Pop Seku came to play.
Yeah, I think that some people may even say that Lindelof played better than Jardel against Porto and also in this game.
Yeah, I mean, look. Kid impressed. The kid definitely over the last couple of games, and in particular against these two big teams, because we're not, how I do. I always criticize the opposition, but these two teams are big boy teams, and he stepped up in two of the biggest games of the season against two of the better teams that Benfica is going to play all season, and he definitely impressed, and he showed that he has a spot and he could play amongst these guys with no problem.
Yeah, and Chris, talking about stepping up, and we've talked about how Gaitan has kind of not been himself these past two games. Gaitan is also in Luizão's absence. He has been the designated captain. Do you feel that Gaitan has the character to be the captain of this team?
Yeah, he's not a rah-rah guy. He's not the type that's going to get in there and fire everyone up. But, I mean, to me, at times, I think that there's so much made about who's wearing the armband. It's just noise. I mean, yeah, he gets it. He's one of the senior guys on the team, and it's probably a great privilege to him. But, a leader is a leader. You don't need an armband to be a leader in the locker room. Samaris is a leader. Julius says is a leader. I mean, would it make a difference if they were wearing the armband and Nico wasn't? You telling me Nico's play was going to pick up just because someone else was wearing the armband? I don't think that's accurate. You know what I mean? I don't think that will make a difference. Again, these guys are still going to be leaders, whether Gaitan's wearing the armband or whether Luizão's wearing the armband. It's not like, the guys that other fans have suggested that should be wearing the armband. It's not like, they're taking a back seat because Gaitan's wearing the armband. I don't think it makes a difference. I think leaders step up when they have to step up, and I don't think anything changes.
Yeah, I've heard, and I know that Meg had been going back with Emma about Gaitan being the captain, but I on the field, I think all these guys are leaders. They lead by example, And perhaps one of the guys that says perhaps the biggest example is the youngest kid on the team, 18 years old. That he leaves everything on the pitch.
Absolutely. So, I mean, listen, the only great thing about being a captain is that you get to shake hands with the opposition's captain at the beginning of the game. And then you might be allowed to say a little bit extra to the referees, which was the only reason why I liked to be a captain, was because I could talk my extra crap. But I was only a captain for about 2.5 games. And then I think at halftime I was stripped of that armband. I don't think I ever wore it again. Yeah, and I know, and at times I did want the armband, but it didn't make a difference, man. I mean, come on, dude. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that just like we're saying that there's a bunch of guys that have leadership qualities on the field, and they're leaders on the field regardless of whether they have.
Renato is a monster. He is going to will you, to will you through anything. The guy's gonna give it his best, no matter if he's having a good game or bad game. First minute to the 90th minute to the 92nd minute, the kid's gonna give it his best. He seems like he might. I don't know. I mean, he's still young, and we haven't seen much of him, so we don't know if he's one of these guys that voices his leadership that's in guys' faces. But I'll tell you this much: based on his play, he's the type that goes out there and gets it done, and he leads the way for other guys to follow him. So now you're telling me he warrants the armband more so than someone else? I think guys are just different leaders, man. I think that's more of a seniority thing nowadays.
Yeah.
Big time soccer. You're gonna give it to the big name guys. You seldom see Marreco with the armband just because he's a great leader. There's plenty of leaders in the locker room.
Yeah, I think that the old days were Veloso. Remember Veloso? Veloso was the captain.
Like 12 years, right? Something crazy.
And he was a very quiet guy also, but it's because his veteranship that gave him the armband. And I like Cristiano says, I think that those days are kind of over.
Everyone leads in their own little way, Alfredo.
Yeah.
You play, how it is. Everyone leads in their own little way. There's guys that go out there and they're loud and their voices are in people's face. Sometimes they're just obnoxious. That doesn't mean they're a leader. I don't want to hear that guy. When times I'm going tough, man, I don't need you screaming in my face. I know I've messed up. I need you to come on, bro, pat me on my back. Not be out there, get on my face and get in my face and scream at me. And there's guys that just go out there. You don't even notice them in the locker room. And in the game, they're absolute beasts. And you're like, man, I can't let my teammate down. This guy's giving it his all. It's the 86th minute. We're all tired. That guy's tired. But, he doesn't give up. That's a leader. You want to follow this guy. Everyone leads differently, man. I think that's nowadays, at least nowadays, there's too much made of it.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think that the armband is nothing but symbolism and has nothing to do with guys' leadership qualities, I think, at this point in modern football. But Cristiano, one last thing on this Zenit game, and Jonas did show up, but Benfica was really counting on being able to overcome Zenit as far as fitness goes, because Zenit, obviously, even though they haven't had the amount of games that Benfica has played, one thing is to come from a preseason shape, and another thing is to be in season form. So I think that Benfica took advantage of the fact that that Zenit kind of they were kind of out of gas at the end, and Benfica kind of they went in the lack of concentration on their part. Benfica scored.
I tell you this much. I think that put a little bit of extra added pressure on Benfica, because I think that at least mentally, if they would have just came away with a draw here, gone into Russia with a 0-0 draw here, I think that might have affected them, because they're like, man, these guys haven't played in months. We're in tip-top form. We've just won 13 or 14 games. These guys haven't played in 2 months. And we still, that might have harmed them. You know what I'm saying? That might have messed them up mentally. And so it was used for Benfica to get that goal, last second goal. And I think this is going to give Benfica a lot of confidence going forward, because a 1-0 lead. I mean, it's not a huge advantage, because obviously they can still overturn this. But it's a lot better than going into Russia with a 0-0 tie.
Yeah.
And no, I just wanted to mention that before I forget, Almeida, Jardel, they're missing the next leg.
Yeah.
Same thing with Crisito, who got a red card on the ensuing play. That guy, right?
Javi Garcia also.
Javi Garcia as well. So Lindelof will most likely start again. Hopefully, Lisandro will be back healthy. If not, you'll probably see Samaris in there. you know, we'll see what happens because obviously Benfica don't have any other options. Or they just pluck a striker from the B team and plug him in a center back.
Yeah. So I know that Rui Vitoria had called out the Russian kid to work out with the main team, and he plays center back. Listov, I think his name is. He was brought up to the main team to work out with the main team in Lisander's absence, in Luisão's absence. So there's an option there. But like you said, he's from the B team, and Rui Vitoria will.
Hey, I'll tell you this much, and I know we're not here to talk about especially our hated rivals, Porto, but they brought up the kid from the B team, Chidozi, whatever his name is, and I thought he had a spectacular game. It was his first ever game at the A team level, and I thought he was great against Benfica. So, hey, maybe Benfica guys in the B team could pull it off just like that kid did.
Yeah, so definitely Zenit is going to have a different posture at home. In 3 weeks' time, Benfica will play that, and we'll play Zenit right before the Sporting game. And speaking of Sporting, big shout out to my friend Rodolfo, who is watching us live from Portugal. Rodolfo.
Qual gajo é sportinguista?
Abraço, meu. Yeah.
Opa, vai dar banhocão, meu. Sportinguista, acordado a esta hora para ouvir show do Benfica. Mas que sportinguista és tu, pá?
That's dedication, man.
Não, obrigado, man. Estou a brincar. Is it the guy I met?
Yeah.
The guy, opa, what's up, tudo bem?
Yeah, so in 3 weeks' time, Benfica will play Zenit. We will have time to talk about the game in a preview when it comes up. But speaking of previews, Paços Ferreira comes up this Saturday. Very, very important game. Benfica can't lose any more ground until we go to the Alvalade. Saturday, 6:30 local. That's 1:30 here in the U.S. Paços Ferreira is 6th. 8 wins, 7 ties, and 7 losses. At home, 5 wins, 2 ties, and 4 losses. Last 5 games Benfica played at the Mata Real, 4 wins, and the 1 loss that Cristiano remembers.
Oh, man, that one game. That was last season, right?
Yep.
That was last season, man. Come on. We had an opportunity to go up on our rivals, and we went there and we practically shit the bed. Excuse my language. But
that was the one game that you kept coming back on, remember?
Oh, man, I was so heated. And if we would have lost the title because of that one game, I think I would have gone crazy. But, they stepped up and did the right thing.
Yeah.
And, again, this is a game I think Benfica go out there, score 4 or 5 on them, and everyone will be right back on the bandwagon and start telling me that I'm crazy and that Benfica is just in great form and they could do this against anyone and their mothers. And then 2 big games step up to reality once again.
Yeah, they have Paços Ferreira away, and then we have União da Madeira at the Luz before we face Sporting, and then we got the Zenit game somewhere in between the União da Madeira and Sporting. But Paços Ferreira will be without 3 of their main players because they're actually Benfica players that are loaned out, which is Fábio Cardoso, Pelé, and the other guy, I think his name is Ponk, if I'm not mistaken.
Which you know what? We talked about this last year. This rule that they installed in Portugal finally after last season, that if you're loaned out, you can't play against your parent club because we saw instances, I forget the name of the team now, but one of the Porto kids pretty much scored a goal on Porto and they beat Porto, and then we seen ugly scenes after a game in the tunnel where basically the Porto representatives were yelling at the kid and stuff like that, but the kid was there to represent his team and do his best and try to impress. And so I'm glad that they implemented this law that you can't play against your parent club. It sucks for these kids because, they're only going to play a handful of games against big teams and you need that experience. So it sucks in that way, but at the same time, it's better off rather than have any type of shenanigans being involved and have these kids' careers ruined because of conspiracy theories. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that was the best thing the league could have done. Cristiano, let's get some Twitter questions on here.
Follow me.
I think we already answered Meg on the.
No, Neil, you can't come on. Oh, it's not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That wasn't the question. I'm sorry.
Here's one from Neil's brother Linu. If SLB or Benfica makes the quarterfinals of the Champions League, finishes second in the league, is the season a failure or a success? What do you think?
Failure. What have they won? If that happens, what have they won?
But considering this is kind of a transition year.
But there's no transition year for Benfica, man. No transition year. Listen, they were tied for first place. They were right there on the cusp, okay? They dropped the ball against Porto. It's not like they've been 6-7 points back all year long, and they're trying to catch up. No, they had their opportunities. Yeah, you're right. It might be a transition year, but Benfica's midfield is probably better this year than it was last year. There's aspects of this team that was better, that are at least that have better options this year than they did last year.
Yeah.
Okay? So I don't want to hear this transition year stuff. And again, second place, that just means you're the first loser.
Here's one from Matthew da Silva, 6. With André Almeida's suspension for the second leg versus Zenit, do you think Semedo will start or Salvio? What do you think, Cristiano?
Semedo. Benfica needs to get Semedo. Rui Vitoria needs to get Semedo involved again. They need to get him in the best shape possible and best game rhythm possible, because André Almeida, man, the guy leaves a lot to be desired. And the one thing that Semedo could do is attack down that wing like some of the better players at that position throughout Europe. So you need to develop this kid. I'm tired of seeing André Almeida. And he hasn't been terrible lately, but come on, bro. We got to give this kid back his spot, because before he got injured, the kid was spectacular. Might not be the best defender, but he's really good, at least going forward.
Yeah, I think that Semedo missed some really crucial time this season to grow as a player. I think all this time, if he had stayed healthy, right now you probably see a very improved Semedo as far as defending goes. Because I think, like you said, Cristiano, as far as attacking, we know that he has skills attacking. The defending is the bit that perhaps right now Almeida is securing the starting spot, because he provides a little bit more consistency defending.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Being honest, I'm not sure if that's the case. I mean, against Porto and Zenit, okay, fine. You want to tell me they want to put a better option there as defensive-wise? Okay, fine. But against the rest of the Moncos in the Portuguese league, you can't tell me the kid can't get a run in those games?
Yeah. Yeah, I think at this point,
I think he's just not 100%. I think that right now, you've mentioned before with the starting lineups, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And right now, they're just riding the hot hand. Semedo hasn't done anything out of this world to prove that he's back at the same form that he was prior. So you know what? You roll the dice. You go with what's been working until you have to make a change, until you're forced to change, because, coaches, they're going to go with the guys that are playing well lately. So now here's his opportunity. He gets suspended. He has an opportunity to go in there and impress. And I think if he impresses and he plays well, I think Almeida will be right back relegated to the bench and sit around and watch Semedo do his thing down the right wing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to take that. I think it's going to take more than that for Semedo to get a spot in the lineup.
I think if he goes to Russia and he plays well and he proves that he's back to playing at the level that he was before, he's back to 100%, you telling me they're going to put Almeida back? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Semedo has been playing with the B team to get some game rhythm, to be honest with you.
That's great.
Which kind of it almost leads me to believe what you're saying. Maybe he's not 100% yet.
Well, maybe, what happens is with young players that have their first knee surgeries, when they come back, they don't have the same confidence they had before. They're hesitant because they're not sure, just the scare of getting injured once again. They're not the same type of players. Maybe he's going through a little bit of that. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely. Anything else you want to add, Chris, before we
Timo's back. Timo's back. He's hitting us up. I'm glad you're back. Nice and safe. I'm jealous as hell.
Yeah.
But welcome back. And he says that Benfica will tie at Alvalade. Porto will beat SCP. Benfica will not drop points versus other teams. Therefore, Benfica will conquer the thing.
Why tie at Alvalade? Why can't we go and win there?
I mean, come on. I think Timo's being kind here. I mean, when you go from getting hammered by them and now you're expecting overnight to turn things around and beat, I think a tie wouldn't be bad.
I remember in the JJ era, we beat Sporting Braga 3 times, or Vitória de Guimarães 3 times, and then the 4th time, or actually, it might have been the year that they beat us in the cup final. We beat them 3 times during the season, then the 4th time.
Hey, you play a team so many times, odds are they're gonna turn around once in a while. But did you see the one comment that Abola posted regarding JJ?
No.
He says, se eu ficar em Portugal, provavelmente não vou mais a nenhuma final.
Yeah, that's giving a lot of credit to Sporting. But
but nenhuma final, like not even the Taça de Portugal, Taça de Cerveja?
No. I think Europe. I think he says. Yeah, I think even so, man. I think that with the skills that he has, you could get Sporting back at the UEFA Cup, but with the right players and the right president, if maybe.
I'll tell you this much. Also, another thing I want to touch on. Obviously, Alfredo, me with the right players, I could win a league. Also, you, anyone with the right players. I mean, that's what it comes down to, players. Yeah. But I'll tell you this much. Really disappointed with Benfiquistas around the world. They let this clubzinho, opa, teu Friordov, desculpa lá, pá, apaga. But yo, really disappointed that they allow these lagartos to go and vote themselves as the best fans in Portugal or whatever. And now they voted Rui Patricio the best goalie in the world. What is wrong with these people? Listen, I don't care about the goalie because that's actually a good joke to tell your kids later on. But as far as the fans, I mean, really, bro, you're really Sportingista. You're really gonna compare yourselves to Benfica? I mean, really? Really?
I got a theory, man. That's all voting on the internet. Some guy developed some kind of an app that's voting over and over again.
I would have understood that, but it wasn't like, the voting was by like 40, 50. It was only by 2,000-3,000 more votes than what Benfica had. It wasn't nothing crazy. You know what I mean? If it was a huge disparity there, then I'll be like, yeah, you're right. They just, got a bot. One of these bot accounts just voted for everyone.
I mean, that's all popular vote. From what I understand, none of the big clubs were in the top 5 even.
No, but that was, this voting.
Do you have it in front of you?
No, not in front of me, but I read. But this voting, to my understanding, is excluding those big clubs, Real Madrid, Barcelona. It was like
who can read me the top 5?
But escuta. Those teams now, it's different voting patterns here, right? Now, whoever won that vote, now he gets thrown in with the big boys, and now he'll go for the big.
Oh, so it's an elimination round, like American Idol.
Yes, like that. And then whoever survives, survival of the fittest, they move on. So now they bring in the big sharks. And coitadinhos do Sporting going to be involved. They're going to be excited just to have their names alongside Real Madrid and Barcelona. The president will probably frame that and put it up in the office.
Yeah, but, I'm curious because, I mean, fans, arguably, the fans in Turkey and perhaps the Dortmund fans are probably right up there.
Yeah.
Probably even better than the Barcelona-Real Madrid games, which, to me, it doesn't.
Because those guys are fans no matter what.
Yeah, there's an atmosphere, but it's not that electric atmosphere that you'd see in Turkey, that you'd see in Greece sometimes. That those even Dortmund is absolutely nuts, and Porto is going to experience that.
Dortmund's got some of the best fans in the world, and that's what's impressive. Those guys, they pack the house, whether in first place, whether in 10th place. Obviously, they've been a better team in the last 4 or 5 years on the Klopp, and now under the new guy, Tuchel, whatever his name is. But those fans pack the house week in, week out. Spectacular fans, Sportingistas, coitadinhos, man. Tem cadeiras a cores diferentes que é para parecer que o estádio está cheio na televisão. And you guys are going to tell me that you're great fans. Por amor de Deus, pá.
Didn't they just come up with the song for themselves also? They never had a song?
See, I wasn't even aware of
that. Something the world knows or something? Something like that? I don't know. All right, before we sign off, a big shout out to Amina. It's her birthday today.
Old is she?
Today, tomorrow.
18?
20. The big 2-0.
Epa, cuidado. Them gallegos better be careful.
Happy birthday, Amina.
Happy birthday, Amina.
Big shout out. I would sing you happy birthday, but I have a horrible voice.
We need Neil now. This is the perfect time for Neil to jump out in his Benfica Speedos. Happy birthday. You know what I mean?
Benfica cuecas.
Benfica cuecas. This would have been perfect now. We need someone to edit this and put it on YouTube. You jumping out of a cake for Amina.
All right, I think that's about it. Don't forget to check out our friends over at planetbenfica.co.uk, at 10co10, at Benfica Podcast, benficapodcast.com. I also received an article from one of our fans that was at the Porto game, and he shares his experiences. I got to look through that, and I'm going to post that on our website, so keep an eye out. I'll also publish the link when that's out. I'll tweet out the link. I think that's about it. Cristiano?
I want to give a big shout out to our homeboy, Patrick Kendrick, who did a great job calling the Benfica game, Benfica Porto Classico, and he even had Portistas compliment him on the fact that he wasn't as biased as they anticipated he would be. So,
wow, dude.
Great job.
That's good.
Yep.
That's good.
His partner can't say the same, but He's by.
All right, we will be back next week. We will look back at the Paços Ferreira game, and we'll also look ahead to the União de Madeira that comes up. See, Cristiano, I did my homework. I had time to do my homework, so I looked up.
See what happens when I'm late. See what happens when I'm late. You get time to do all your research.
That's what happens. All right,
Steve, we'll be back at the. All right.
Yeah, somebody please start a petition to get Steve back on his show. Please, for the love of the Lord.
Coitadinho.
I got Neil begging me to come on every freaking week.
Neil, bro, you need to get in game shape, brother. When you pull down your cuecas, you can tell your muscles weren't developed the way they should be. You know what I mean? You need to get in better shape, man, if you want to step up for Steve Zinho on the pod.
All right, guys. I'll see you next week. For Cristiano and Alfredo, signing off. Benfica Podcast. Check us out. iTunes, everywhere else. Don't forget to rate us, all right? See you, everybody. See ya.